I went into CoProducer from Outputs. As you know, I've talked about that, building sample packs with AI generated uh, text, and it puts together to me some really good sounds. I made at least 3 or 4 songs using their stuff. Sometimes it's in Ableton, sometimes it's in Koala. Just depends on what I feel. Last week, if you are a part of the Koala Beatcast community, the flip challenge that I did with the Brazilian, not last week, whatever the week was, we did the Brazilian um, challenge where you sample some Brazilian music or whatever. I used AI to generate the Brazilian music, and then I flipped that and made a song. So this isn't that. This is something that I've been trying to get some of that MF Doom style music. I know he's sampled from many different sources, and uh, his style is unique. And it's not that I want to copy it directly, but just build something similar, something with those type of vibes without having to use samples that I got to pay for that are copyrighted. So these are from CoProducer. Um, I took them, the chords, and then I chopped up the melody kind of part, and then I replayed that part, and then I used they have this guitar, this weird guitar. It sounds like this, and I stretched it. It actually sounds totally different from that, but I stretched the mess out of it just to make it sound real like a pad or kind of. So I'm using it in the background as like an ambient textural track. Here's the chords, which I did stretch. I slowed them down quite a bit. So that sounds cool. Now I could have chopped that up, but I like the way it was. Um, Now this I did chop up. So I stretched it to the time, and I'm using a real slow 68 BPM. I know a lot of people like to work in double time, and I do too. But in this particular situation, I just wanted it to be 68. That was me. I'm more in the jazzy, slow, ballady type vibe. Lo-fi, however you want to term it. So I chopped it up and I got all these parts, right? Of which I played in random orders to make kind of a melody out of it. Um, Another thing is, if you don't know this already, on Koala, if you hold edit and touch all these pads, see how I'm touching them all? You can do a lot of the edits. So I put them on a choke group 1. Turn that off now. And then some of them had a little click. So I adjusted the best I couldn't hear, but I also put a little attack on every one of them. I think this one might have had a little bit more because it was the first one and it gave me a little more clicking. So use your attack to adjust that click off, right? So you don't get that problem. And because they're not one-shotted, if that's such a thing, one-shotted, they're not on one shot. Um, you see, they only play as long as I hold them, which is nice for playing like the melody. All right, so this is what it sounds like. I'm gonna mute. Let me go to this page and mute the drums and the bass. And then this is what it sounds like without drums and bass. So I did an 8 bar, And then you can see I have it set to 16 bars because I like to work in 8s and 16s. I'm trying to get to the point where I work in stuff like 5 bars and 12 bars and things of that nature so that I can explore new possibilities. Um, I'll be doing that mostly in Ableton until I get my workflow for how it's going to be. But in the meantime, this is kind of where I'm at with it. Um, I did not label any of these, so I just played. I did silence notifications, and yet I'm still getting 1,000 emails and text messages. Um, yeah. So now I'm gonna show you what I did with the bass and the drums. So the drums came from Eldre Drums, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I actually blended sounds here. So I took a couple different kicks he had, mixed them together, and made that kick. And I always, even if I get somebody's snare, I'll usually turn the tone down. They should be one shot. Nope, they weren't. Okay, I didn't one shot my kick and snare. That's weird. All right, but I usually will, you can see all the tones are kind of the same. So I always try to adjust the tones. I don't like a real bright hat or a bright snare or a bright kick, if that's such a thing. I just don't care for it. So here's what it sounds like with the kicks and drums and the hats. Um, I believe I put a little swing on there. The quantize is off, but check it out. And I do use note repeat on here for this because it's just quicker. Okay, so let's talk about this note repeat because I wanted to do this. I want to make a video for it. I like to turn velocity on. So when I move my finger up and down, I'm getting variation in the velocity. The one thing that's hard on Koala to me is unless you attach a controller that has velocity sensitive keys or pads, you're pretty much going to have to manually go in there and adjust each one because the pads on here don't have velocity. For instance, like in tonality, you can set it where you can move up, or even Beatmaker 3 has this where you can set it to go up and down based on where you hit the pad. It'll change the velocity. If they put not an XY, but this would be an X axis on here or Y axis or whatever it is to go up and down. That's something that I've been hoping that Koala will add, or Merrick, I should say, will add to Koala to make to make it fun where you could drum on the screen and still get that. Otherwise, you either plug them in yourself manually and adjust the velocity, or you get a controller to do it. Or my new method I've been using is just use it in, if you're just trying to do a steady, and then if you want to adjust it off of the axis, go in and highlight the notes and then slide it just a little bit left or right to adjust the where it sits on the actual on the grid. I'm gonna call it that for lack of better words right now. All right, so there you go. So you've heard the drums. Now the bass, and this is on the internet right now. Everybody knows about the TE KO. KO has really nice bass sounds in it for one shots, and someone put the factory sample thing on the internet, so I grabbed that. Of course, I had bought it, ended up returning it because it broke. You guys seen my video if you've watched. Anyway, they have an electric bass sound in there that I really think is solid for making simple bass sounds. That's what it sounds like. Now, it sounds different. For instance, this is how it sounds just straight, which is really nice. The problem is whoever put it in, whoever made that sample and put it into the KO did not pitch that sample to C. They played an F. And I don't know why. I checked it in two sources to find out that it was an F, but then I'm forced to have to think outside and just listen and try to figure out where to play it. And it's frustrating for me. So I pitched it down 5 semitones to get it to C, which I think all one shots, particularly one shots that are single note like a bass or a keyboard, if you're just doing a piano, needs to be set as C. And that's just standard. That way, when you hit the sequence here and you go into the keyboard, wow, this thing's making weird noises. You know where you're playing. Because I know this song is in D sharp minor. And I know the chord or the notes in D sharp minor, right? So I want to be able to just, by the way, the notes are F. Well, I guess I should start on the D sharp, huh? F. And back. That's the for D sharp minor. Anyway, so I want to be able to just get in here and feel free to play the bass however I want or play the notes however I want if it's a melody, depending on what I'm doing. So anyway, I recorded in the bass using that with it pitched in the right to C. And here's what it sounds like. All right. So real simple bass. I would probably want to go back and at least on the eighth bar, maybe do something where it's like doom, 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 and then lead back in like a little turnaround to lead back into the one. So that's just something in my mind that I was thinking of. In fact, just so you know, I did that all on this keyboard right here that you see on the screen. I didn't use the actual keyboard. It's easier for me to play it with the physical keyboard just because my fingers are big. So this little bitty spots are challenging. But anyway, I did what I could. So there you have it. For some reason. Oh, I think it's because the mic for the iPhone is somewhere close by and my finger might be rubbing it or something. I don't know. All right. So yeah, so you can make some good I called it doom and gloom. You can make some cool little songs on here and honestly, you know, I think this is a great starting point. If you want to finish in Koala, you might want to spend a little time. If you haven't bought the mixer, definitely get the mixer. I put a little bit of reverb on the mixer, put the limiter at like 3 dB. So that way it would increase the volume of the sound because here's without it. Let's see if I can. I think I turned it off. There you go. Here's without it. Sounds good. But it just brings up the whole mix. So, and sometimes I'll even usually go up to 6. Which I think is pretty good. You'll notice things like I always sidechain the bass to the kick. I put the samples on one, particularly the melody samples portion. And would typically use this bus D for a I would use the bus D probably for, what would I use that for? For the hi-hats, perhaps, if I want to pan them, get them moving a little bit more. But I'm just using it now for the volume on this microphone so I can record the video. Hopefully that kind of gives you a little segue into one way that I record, one workflow. Um, you can obviously do this a million different ways, but this is just one way I work when I'm just on the iPhone and not utilizing AUM. I'm not utilizing any exterior gear. It's just me and the phone, which I would probably say 75% of the time I'm on the iPhone more than I am on just the computer. But I work next to the computer, so when I'm on the computer or by the computer, I'll gravitate towards using it just because I got a MIDI controller right there and it's kind of easy to jump on and make music. Anywho, enough of me talking. Take what you can take from this video. I make videos just because I enjoy doing it. I don't make videos because I just want to get paid or I'm trying to make it a job. But I hope that it helped you in some way, form, or fashion, and that you, are inspired to just keep making music. 'Cause that's what it's all about. All right, that's it. Enjoy.